Hi, I'm Chrissy. How are you?
All right, how are you?
I'm doing pretty good. What's your name?
Stacy.
Stacy. It's very nice to meet you, Stacy. Well, first let me tell you that suicide is not something that is chosen. It happens when pain exceeds the resources you have for coping with pain, if that makes sense to you. But I'm just going to ask you a couple of questions. Is that okay? Yeah? How are you feeling today?
A little numb.
A little numb? Is that a normal feeling to feel numb?
Sometimes.
Sometimes?
Sometimes.
Are you currently having thoughts of suicide?
Not today.
Not today?
Not today.
Have you ever attempted suicide in the past?
Yeah.
Yeah, you have? Do you feel like your life is worth living?
Not at the moment.
No. Have you ever wondered if you could fall asleep and just not wake up?
Actually, yeah, I have.
How does that make you feel?
There's a strange, morbid sense of comfort.
Of just not waking up one day and all the pain going away?
Yeah.
Yeah. Have you thought about death recently? Have you thought about dying recently?
In the past week, yes.
In the past week? Have you had anything traumatic happen in your life recently that has caused this to happen?
I did lose my job a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, you lost your job? I'm so sorry to hear about that. It's very tough times right now. You know, it's a lot of people not having jobs. When do you think you first noticed yourself thinking about suicide?
When I was 14.
When you were 14, so you have a past history of suicide attempts.
Yeah, you could say that.
Do you have a history of feeling depressed or like you're worthless? You just can't go on another day?
Most definitely.
Most definitely. Do you feel like that more days than not?
It depends.
It's kind of like a hit or miss.
It really is. It's hit or miss.
Do you think maybe that losing your job has something to do with you being so depressed lately?
It's a possibility.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
How likely do you think you are to act on your thoughts of suicide in the future?
And that's kind of hard to say, just because I can't predict the future.
Right.
But I mean, it just depends on what's going on.
Do you think that you could possibly be successful one time if you tried it?
Yeah.
Yeah. How does that make you feel, thinking that you could possibly be successful in actually killing yourself?
It's weird. Like, part of it, there's like that strange comfort in it, but it's also scary at the same time. It's a double-edged sword.
I can understand how that would be scary for you. I mean, I can't imagine, what you're going through. And I'm just, happy that you're here talking to somebody about it to get help with this problem. You're definitely not the only one. Do you have any history of a drug addiction?
Yes.
Yes. What type of drug?
What not type of drug would be a simpler question, but the main ones: cocaine, marijuana, and alcohol.
Yeah, those are your main ones that you
Yes.
use. Are you currently using those now?
Yeah.
Yeah. Would you be willing to take help for your addiction if it was offered to you?
Maybe.
Maybe. But has it crossed your mind to get help? Or would you rather just keep using and, keep partying and...
It has crossed my mind. But part of it too, it's like, what's the use if I'm just going to go right back to it,
Right.
I mean, because there does come a point to where it's not fun anymore, and maybe that has something to do with my depression.
Right. That makes sense. Do you feel like you want to continue using? Do you feel like you can stop using if you wanted to?
If I wanted to, I couldn't stop even if I wanted to.
No.
Not on my own. I know that.
When you attempted suicide in the past, what were you thinking about before?
I was thinking about everything, you know, like how friends and family would react.
How do you think that they would react if you actually committed suicide?
They would be devastated, no doubt. They would be devastated. You know, I know what that feels like. You know, they would be devastated, but at the same time, they can't possibly understand what's going on in my mind.
Right. Can you describe for me what happened the first time that you tried to commit suicide?
Yeah, I was about 14, 15. I had lost my dad 2 years prior to that. Turned right around, lost my grandma. You know, I just felt like anybody that I was close to was being taken away from me, and I felt like I had nobody, and I just wanted to go be with them. I knew they were in heaven, and I wanted to be with them.
Right.
And I wrote a letter to my mom and everything. You know, I had it all planned out. I really did, and I was gonna, you know, ultimately slit my wrist.
Yeah.
And right when I went to do it, I don't know what came over me, but I just broke down and started crying. Like I couldn't do it.
Are you glad that you weren't successful?
Pardon me. I mean, yeah, to a certain extent I was, because I mean, the things that I did get to do in high school and stuff, you know.
Right, you would have missed out on all that if you would have, killed yourself at the age of 14.
Right, and I mean, I would trade the experiences that I had, you know, for anything, you know. Cause
moments like those are the ones that you have to remember the next time that you're thinking about, killing yourself, hurting yourself, self-mutilating on yourself. Those things are things that you need to think about, reasons why you want to be on this earth still, because there's plenty of reasons that you have to continue to live every day. How did you feel after your first suicide attempt?
I felt insane, crazy.
You felt like you were going crazy?
Oh yeah, I tore up that piece of paper so nobody would ever find it, and I burned it.
What do you think would have happened if somebody would have found that letter?
Oh man, I would have gotten 20 million questions from my mother. Would have probably went to doctor.
Do you think that would have helped you at the time though? Maybe it would have made it worse.
Maybe. I'm not sure. I have a fear of, I have a fear of psych meds. I do. So,
right.
I don't want to be a zombie.
Right.
This is me. I don't want to, whatever.
You don't want to be chemically dependent on a drug. That makes sense. A lot of other people feel the same way about having to take drugs just to live their normal, everyday life. So I definitely understand where you're coming from. Why were you not successful in your last suicide attempt that you had? Not the first one, but the last one that you had.
Most recent?
The most recent one.
My roommate, actually. I was home. She came home from work to find me, passed out in the hallway because I'd taken a bunch of painkillers.
Why did you take those painkillers?
I didn't want to feel the pain. So, hey, you're in pain.